Welcome to the Daily Plunge. We are in John chapter 12, verses 37 through 50. The Apostle John tells us that even though Jesus had performed many signs and wonders, people still refuse to believe that he's the Messiah sent by the Father. Even though he had performed signs of feeding thousands, of healing the lame and the lepers, of giving sight to the blind, even though he even raises the dead, they refuse to acknowledge that he is the Son of the living God. And this is still true today, that even though Jesus performs many signs and still does miracles today, people refuse to acknowledge Christ. And John points to Isaiah 53 that says, who has believed the message, the revelation of who Jesus Christ is? It's the one to whom the Lord has revealed it. And we continue to talk about how faith is a gift, that God opens your eyes to see that. But on the flip side of that, John quotes Isaiah 6 that says that blinded eyes have only become more blind and that hardened hearts have become even harder. And why? Because the Lord allows those who blind themselves and harden their hearts to become more blind and their hearts to become more hardened. And so he just allows that to happen more because people callously and willfully decide not to see Jesus on his terms, but to see Jesus on their terms for their agenda, their prerogatives. And they dismiss Jesus willfully, callously. And so as they have eyes but do not see, and they don't understand him with their hearts, they cut themselves off for him. Now in verse 42, John says that there were many leaders who believed that Jesus was the Messiah, but would not confess that, would not say that publicly because of the other leaders, the Pharisees. And he says the reason why is because they cared more about human praise than the praise of God. Now, this is true today, that many people will acknowledge Jesus, but they will not trust him with their lives. They will not openly confess Christ and trust him with their lives because they're more worried about living for the praise and the acclamation and the success of this world than to live for the praise of God and to live to honor God alone. An audience of one, you might say. Now, in verse 44, Jesus cries out and he says, whoever believes in me, whoever who trusts their lives with me, they're not just trusting in me, they're trusting in the one who sent me. And that's this point is still true today, is that many people believe in Jesus. Oh, Jesus was a great teacher, but they will not see him as the Son of God, and they won't even acknowledge the God who created everything. And Jesus says, when you look at me, you are seeing the one who sent me, the Father. And I have come into the world as the light of the living God. And anyone who believes in me, they will walk by my light. And so he goes on to say, though, that anyone who hears my words and doesn't do them, they're going to be judged by the words. Jesus says, I don't judge them, but it's my Father's words that judges them. And because the words that my Father has sent me to proclaim, I know that they bring eternal life. But if you refuse them, then what's the opposite of eternal life? Well, thanks. Have a blessed day, and we'll talk to you tomorrow.